Hi there, my name is Maria Oreska and I am responsible for product development at Infinity. In this Tech Tuesday video, I will come back to the topic that's been already recorded, but in the meantime, we did some enhancements, so I want you to keep updated. It will be about field validation. Here on my screen, you see demo application for entering my plans and budget. I will be focused on the first form on this sheet, where I enter quarterly target. By default, I can enter positive numbers as well as negative numbers, and that's obviously something I don't want my users to do. To avoid saving them negative values, or at least let them know they should consider whether this is exactly what they wanted to enter, I can use field validation. Field validation is an option, a feature relevant for a specific form field. Therefore, I can find it in the Properties panel under the Form Configuration section, where I define each column specifically. Please note you need to switch from basic user level to advanced user level. When I open my field Q1 target definition and scroll down, I'll find here validation type. As I mentioned, by default, there is no validation. The only restrictions that are available are linked to the field type. Like when I'm using this number field type, I can't enter comments or notes there, right? But when I enter any number, it's okay. So if I want to do some validation, even before user saves the data, I can switch the validation type from none to warning or error. Intuitively, warning is the validation type that informs you that something might not be right and you should reconsider it, but it still allows you to save the data. Validation type error prevents you from saving data. So if there is at least one error in your form field, you can't save the data. When I select a specific validation type, I have a new option here, validation expression. So yeah, you can use all the click magic to define the rule that should be used. Very frequently, the validation rule is linked to the value I'm entering in the cell, so to the cell itself. But as you will see further in this video, it can be linked also to other manual inputs as well as data coming from a data model, so dimensions and measures. To be able to do that, we have defined specific technical variables relevant for Infinity forms. You can find them explained in the documentation, so I can go to the About section in my Properties panel and open the documentation from here. Details on field validation can be found in the Developer section, Main Configuration, under Forms General, and here is the whole section about field validation. There are the three options I already went through, and these are the technical variables. So I need to use variable value to refer to a value in the current cell. Let's try it. If value is negative, then 0 is the result when validation fails. Please note and keep in mind that for validation condition, you always need to define the second parameter of the if function, even if it will be just 1 or some dummy text. It becomes red at the very same moment as I entered the data, so even before I hit the save button. Sometimes the reason is self-explanatory, like here, but very often you want to explain to your user what he or she is doing wrong. And this is something you can also do very easily. So let me come back to the validation expression and replace this 0 with some text. When I do so, this text is shown to me in a pop-up when I hover my mouse over the cell. Note, it's a result of an expression, so instead of pure text, you can also refer to variables, use those technical variables, click functions, whatever you want. Like that. As I mentioned, and as is stated in the documentation, you can use the technical variable row.callName if you want to link your validation expression to another form field. In this case, let's say I want to inform my user if they enter Q2 target that's lower than Q1 target. Oh, I can't save the data, right? Since I clear my changes, it's now back to a positive number. So Q2 target. In a Q2 target, I want to enter warning as an example. And in a validation expression, I want to save that if value in this specific cell is lower than Q1 target, then validation fails, otherwise it's okay. And the reason I haven't defined this is because I don't remember and I need to come back to Q1 target definition and copy and paste the column name. Label is what's shown to end user here, but column name is the technical name of the field. So that's what I need to use. And as written in the documentation, this is the technical variable. As you see, it's automatically applied. Best practice when you use validation type warning is not to use red color as a background, especially if you have other fields that are using red color as error types. And the very last type of the technical variable I want to show you is the way how you can refer to a dimension or measure, so to a value coming from a data model. I'll copy this. And let's say that for Q3, I want to define my validation rule as for Germany, you can't enter value lower than 100,000. It's just for demo purposes. So let me go to Q3 and turn on validation by switching validation type from none to warning. In my validation expression, I want to say that if value that I'm currently entering is lower than 100,000 and country is Germany, then validation fails, otherwise it's okay. If I do it this way, it's not evaluated as failed validation. The reason is that when the validation expression is evaluated, it's done on the forms side. So it doesn't work with the field names coming from a data model. That's exactly the reason why there is this technical variable you need to use instead. You can find it in the documentation. So it's row._call and then a number. that's counting starts at 0. So first dimension is 0, second dimension or measure is 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. But you can also find it in the properties panel in the column order section. And here, when you click on a specific field, you always see the information about the type. In this case, it's dimension, and formula reference. So we see that country is this technical brother. And it was number 0. Yep, exactly what we wanted. So let me summarize very quickly. By default, there is no field validation embedded in your form fields. You need to define it by yourself if that's needed. There are 3 different types of validations. So the default one, that's none. Then there is warning that informs you but allows you to save the data. And the third option for validation type is error that prevents you from saving incorrect data. The validation rule can be defined as a click expression. Therefore, you can use all the click magic functions variables you know from click. But please keep in mind that when you want to refer to a form field itself or values coming from a data model, dimensions and measures, you need to use technical variables instead. And the definition you can find in the form documentation, in the field validation section, or you can always go to column order section and find a specific formula reference for a particular field. Thank you very much for watching this video. I really hope you find it useful, and until the next one, enjoy forms.